It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Thursday, January the 11th. A very, very special day for a variety of reasons around these parts. First of all, Tony's back.
Woo!
Tony.
Thank God.
You know the old song, My
kidding.
Tony's Back and You're Gonna Be in Trouble? Welcome back, Tony Lee.
It's just hard being without Tony, you know?
I haven't felt like myself. How is Tony feeling?
I don't know. He's having something.
He's having something. Oh, did he already have to dash off to the leaning back with an ice pack on his head?
I don't know.
Well, Tony still recuperates and gets
right.
and gets in position.
Yeah. Well,
It's also a special day around here.
Yeah.
It's a special day around here because Brian Zepp is 1 year closer to the end of the run. I'm sorry, wait, no. You're 1 year older. That's what you are.
I'm officially at 5:21 a.m. I used to get the call from Mom. Now I get a text. But it's a Jack Lambert year for me. Since I was 12 years old, started with Terry Bradshaw, of course, originally a Pennsylvania kid, big Steelers fan. So I associate my year, what kind of year it's going to be. It was a Terry Bradshaw year when I was 12. Been working through it. Been going through the linebackers this past decade, and finally got around to Jack Lambert. Jack Lambert year. Stoked.
That's a good year.
That's a good.
Any
year,
Steelers fan is happy. Any Steelers fan is happy to enter a Jack Lambert year. So happy birthday, Brian. We won't stress on it too much today. We know that's not how you like to roll. But I would feel remiss if we didn't kick off the day by saying, "Hey, man, well done. Way to make it another lap."
Yeah, I mean, there are probably some bets against it, but thanks. I'll take it.
No, man, you're getting older and better. Okay, they say you're not getting older, you're getting better. I think you're doing both.
All right, thanks, man. Except for my knees. Otherwise, everything, seems to be still arcing up. I don't think I've crested yet.
I was on a plane yesterday, and you know what? It took off. It landed. There was nothing, no drama, not even a raised eyebrow that I'm aware of between anybody on the plane. Everybody was in a good mood. We landed ahead of schedule. We got off the plane. We got our luggage. We went home. Right? It worked out perfectly. That's not the case because, and again, there's at least one a week now. At least we used to say there's one a week air rage. Now there's one a week air explosion. And I don't mean a door blowing off the side of a plane like last week. I mean on a Delta flight from Birmingham to Atlanta yesterday. That is a 30-minute flight. Now, you're on the plane for an hour, right? Push away from the gate, get in line, take off, and then you circle Atlanta for a minute because there's 9 billion planes trying to land. But the actual air time, 20 to 30 minutes if you're not delayed. I've done that flight many times. My wife is from Birmingham. We used to live in Atlanta. There were occasions where we had to get over there and take a plane instead of the 2-hour drive. And so I know it's like an island hop. Boom, bang, bang. Yesterday on a flight, somebody, well, let's just say it, they soiled themselves. And they didn't just soil themselves. They soiled the seat. They soiled the seat back. They soiled the floor where their feet were. They had a complete, a literal explosion and sat there in their seat. They didn't get up. They didn't ask for help. They just sat there. And when the plane landed, they ran off and went into the bathroom. But leaving behind what witnesses described as a peanut butter-like, situation.
Oh, no. No.
Yeah,
was it a kid? Was this an adult? What's
well,
happening?
there was one of the men on the plane was with his 8-year-old daughter, and he said, "Honey, do you have something to tell me?" And of course, she said, "No, this was an adult. This was someone."
Oh, wow.
Now, I had an experience years and years ago on that flight from Birmingham to Atlanta where I had sat at the Birmingham bar for a few hours. It was a really hard day for a lot of things going on. And I got to the bar and had a beer. And then I saw a buddy of mine who happened to be there. And then next thing you know, we're drinking. We're like, we're having a few. I get on the plane and before takeoff, I'm like, man, I really gotta pee. This is bad. And I'm like holding it. We get up in the air, and then the flight attendant says, "It's such a short flight, and we got a lot of turbulence. It was in the winter, so we're just going to keep everyone in their seats." And I'm like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!" And then we circled for a while. It was probably 90 minutes. where I sat there and could not go. And when I got off the plane I couldn't run to the bathroom, I was in so much pain. Like my kidneys were messed up for a while. Like it was all backing up. But you know what I did? I just dealt with it and kept it inside my body.
Oh, man. I missed a flight to a friend's wedding many years ago, not because of number one. It was number two, but I was in the airport and it hit me, bad gut. And there I was sitting there and I just decided to miss the flight. I thought that was a 2.5 hour flight, I believe. And I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to get on that plane and go 2.5 hours. I thought I could probably get to the bathroom. It wasn't that much of an emergency, but I didn't want to. I was like, dude, man, I tried. I'll try and get there for the reception kind of deal. But yeah, like you said, it's an up and down flight, a half hour in the air. I'm looking at some of the comments now in the story. By the way, this person had excrement halfway up the passenger's back as well. The person had sat in it for a good hour, then departed into Atlanta airport covered in stink. Wow.
I'm going to assume that
I'd rather have a door come off, to be honest with you.
Well, sure. You're going to get some fresh air, if nothing else. I mean, in this situation, you're just stuck. You're just in a bubble of stench.
Everyone.
And I'm going to assume the person was going through some sort of stressful situation or they were in some level of distress. But apparently every witness, and there are plenty of witnesses, says, no, the guy just sat there very calmly, just like, I mean, we're getting to the point now where we have to check everybody's temperature literally and figuratively before they get on planes, because people are either losing their minds or they're losing their bowels, and I'm not good with either situation. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, exactly. Gonna have to ask you to miss the flight. Do whatever you have to do. Some people are like trying to be sympathetic, compassionate about it. No. By the way, the last one, remember back in September, that was a flight out of Atlanta too. Now I know Atlanta is a hub for Delta because that was also a Delta flight, and I think they were going overseas when they had to turn it around. That was the bout of explosive diarrhea from one end of the plane to the other, and just didn't keep it in their seat. They took it for a spin around the plane. All right.
Well, that's the state of the world we're in. It's like, okay, you got to give the guy that soiled an entire seat props because he didn't run up and down the aisle. That's the bars are getting lower on every day that passes for travel.
I'm in disagreement with you guys. If I have tummy troubles, I'm not canceling my flight. I'm going on that flight. I'm a human, okay? I'm a human being.
Yeah.
I'm going on my plane. You're going to have to deal with it. I deal with your stinky baby all the time.
Yeah.
I was on my last two flights. There were so many babies, and they were cute, but they were stinky.
Well, you bring up a good point. If you're having stomach issues and you've decided to fly like Candace very callously would do you grab an adult diaper at one of the kiosks? Do they have a kiosk for that? If not, I'm starting one. I think I might make a couple of bucks. But I got a feeling, Candace, if you felt like you couldn't get out of your chair and you were going to crap yourself on the flight, I just have a feeling, I know you a little bit, that you might opt otherwise. But, yeah, no one wants to miss their flight. But, yeah, come on, man.
I think we're at the place now where adult diapers, that's one thing, and that might make sense. But let's just move on up to hazmat suits for everybody.
Exactly.
Well, as long as we're here. Yeah, let's just you know what? Let's just admit this is where we've come to, and we can all agree if everybody's in a hazmat suit, if we look like a plane full of beekeepers at the end of the day, we're all just going to get there in a little bit better mood. Let's just all agree now.
I mean, especially after the holidays, I put on a little holiday weight, just get a nice big hazmat suit to cover my body.
And you don't have to, and there's no stress over what you're going to wear on the flight. Exactly. You know what I mean? You just put on those damn sweats yet again, because you're covering up. You're going full beekeeper, EPA, contamination site looking engineered dude look. It's going to be fine. We're all going to look alike. We're all going to get along. We're going to feel better. We're going to land ahead of schedule. This is good news. I'm excited.
Yeah, I like it. You have problems,
we have
solutions here on the KQ Morning Show. Outstanding. And we have an entertainment report coming right out of L.A. Mike Evans checking in here at 6:30. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Thursday, January the 11th. I need to give a quick little morning shout out to our dear friend Lynn. Has a big birthday on Saturday. She's listening from far, far away. Lynn, happy early birthday. We love you. Lynn, a big part of the KQ family.
She is, and she is living it up in Punta Cana right now. That's how we met Lynn back in the day. She came on one of our KQ Morning Show trips to Punta Cana, and she's been loyal before that, during, and after. And we're going to do a big celebration on next Saturday, but her birthday is this Saturday.
Did she ever make it back from that trip? Has she been there ever since?
She just moved there. She's all like, right. Life's better here. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Lynn. Living the sin.
I can't imagine someone leaving Richfield for Punta Cana myself.
Well, Richfield is the Punta Cana of the metro.
Sure is.
It's good to know. Yeah. Well, happy early birthday, Lynn. Enjoy the trip. We hope you make it back. You know, in one piece, like, because I'm sure if you met Candace on that trip, you guys rolled onto that plane with no shortage of Advil and water and regret.
Yep. Bring your own water.
Diapers.
Yeah. Last time I was there, I got massive diarrhea.
There it is.
Because I didn't even drink the water. I don't know. I think it's just like, because if you brush your teeth with the water, I don't know. It got me.
You know what I think it was? Just too much excitement for your little central nervous system.
She got overstimulated.
Anyway.
You know what Punta Cana means in English, don't you? No, that's not nice.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Leslie's also there. She wanted me to give her a shout out for just being there and supporting her sister on her birthday.
This is the long stretch as it gets colder here. This is the long stretch we get into where all our Minnesota buddies just running off to their warm weather vacations. Now through February, it's, you're trying, hey, what's up? Oh, nothing. I'm down on a beach somewhere. I've got some friends. Yeah, God, I wonder if they're in Punta Cana. Maybe it's just ringing a bell. They all sound the same to me down there. Puerto Vallarta, Punta Cana, Playa del Carmen. But yeah.
It doesn't sound cold. That's all I know, is it doesn't sound cold. And by the way, props to Leslie for supporting her sister in Punta Cana. Jeez, Pete. All right, you know what? Well, anyway, hope you ladies have a wonderful trip. Of course, that's very sincere. We love you guys. Let's go west, shall we? How about a Mike Evans Hollywood report?
Hey, give it up. This is your report, Minneapolis, St. Paul, KQ. This is your report for Thursday. Here we go. Hey, good morning, Minneapolis. Good morning, St. Paul. Good morning, Steve and Candace and Zephyr. Boy, I just saw your weather. The high today, 25, and then it's going to get even colder and snow. Ooh, I can't believe it. Being from Hawaii, I can't believe it gets that cold. Hey, this report, as always, brought to you by Marcus Theaters. You know what? Great way to spend the weekend coming up is to go to a Marcus Theater, enjoy the fabulous movies, the fabulous popcorn, the fabulous food they have served at all Marcus Theaters. And don't forget those leisure seats they have. Like I say, you'll probably fall asleep. Marcus Theaters, the best theater chain in the United States. Okay, so here's the deal. One of the nicest celebrities in Hollywood is Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford will be getting the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Critics' Choice this weekend. I love Harrison Ford. And my favorite Harrison Ford story is about 20 years ago, and while staying at a New York hotel with his wife, Calissa Flockhart, and their brand new adopted baby, both Calissa and Harrison were running a little late, kind of frantic, getting ready to go over to Robert De Niro's home, who lived just a few blocks away from the hotel, for an Easter brunch. They were running a little late, and that's when Calissa Flockhart screamed at Harrison Ford that they've run out of baby diapers, and they needed baby diapers before they went over to De Niro's house, and that Harrison needed to go downstairs to a Walgreens a few blocks away and to get diapers, and to hurry, because they were already late. Well, Harrison Ford told Calissa that he hadn't even showered yet, but Harrison Ford, being Harrison Ford, the great guy that he is, he threw on a pair of pants, grabbed his shirt, grabbed the elevator, ran 5 blocks to the Walgreens, ran in, asked the cashier, quick, where's the diaper aisle? She directed him, only to have Harrison come back to her and say, I need baby diapers. You directed me to adult diapers.
Ooh.
Well, the cashier apologized but said, hey, the way you ran in here, you were sweating, you were in a panic. I just assumed that the diapers were for you. Harrison got a big laugh out of it, got the diapers, made it to De Niro's a little late, but had a great story to tell. I love that story. By the way, if I had to pick the 4 nicest celebrities in Hollywood, they would be Tom Selleck, Gary Sinise, Mark Wahlberg, and Harrison Ford. And so happy that Harrison is getting the Lifetime Achievement from the Critics Award show this weekend. Tomorrow, movie reviews, NFL playoff predictions, and a comment on the Seattle Seahawks coach, Pete Carroll, getting the heave-ho. I might have some scoop on that. Stay warm. Talk to you tomorrow. Mike Evans, see ya.
Wow, but I did not know where that story was going. I'll be honest.
I blacked out, honestly, during it.
That was a good resolution.
Adult diapers sort of turning into a theme here this morning.
It certainly is. The older we get, the more we start thinking about, better safe than sorry. I mean, a moment ago we were discussing the benefits of wearing hazmat suits on flights just to be safe. So yeah, that all kind of checks out to me. Speaking of which, there was a Dunkin' Donuts situation in Florida a year ago, and now a customer has filed suit against Dunkin' Donuts, claiming he suffered severe and long-term injuries because last year he walked into the men's room at a Dunkin' in Winter Park, Florida, and the toilet exploded.
Whoa.
Not like figuratively like, the water overflowed. The literal toilet exploded. This man, whose name is Paul Kerouac, was covered in all of the things that had been in that toilet and coming out of the pipes, but also injured from, shrapnel from exploding ceramic parts of the toilet. He has sued for $100,000, saying that ever since that day, he has suffered bodily injury and has required mental health care and counseling.
Come on, man. It
at
happens.
the time, at the time, an employee did say, well, we were aware there was some sort of a problem with the toilet, but but toilets, they only explode once. That's the good thing. Once they explode, they can't explode again.
Maybe it's something with elevation there at Winter Park. I'm familiar with it. If anyone's driven out of 70, headed west there and in Colorado is familiar with Winter Park. You cruise right past it just before you get to the Eisenhower Tunnel. But, explosion. What'd you have to eat there? What'd you say, Paul Kerouac? Not to be confused with the lead singer for the band Squeeze there for a while. No, not him.
Not Paul Carrick, and also not Jack Kerouac. Not either one. No, this was Winter Park, Florida. This is This is not elevation. This is sea level toilet exploding. A whole different type of situation.
Things like that happen in Florida. It's unexplained. Wow, man. I don't know that it would cause me mental trauma unless I wanted a few bucks out of the company, I guess. But yeah, exploding toilets, people crapping on planes. Going to be that kind of year.
Hey, Mike Evans just mentioned that Pete Carroll's out as the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. He's going to move into the front office, apparently. Also, Nick Saban is out. Yeah. The Alabama football coach, he of 7 national championships, is hanging up the whistle. That's a pretty significant development. It's crazy to think he will go out after the arguably greatest career in college football coaching history with that beatdown at the hands of Michigan. Alabama right there, the Final Four this year. So Saban not going out on top, going out right next to being on top. That's a hell of a career for that guy.
I know, 6 national championships. We have a little montage of just some of those wins over the years. Nick Saban and the Tide.
That'll do it. Crimson Tide wins the national championship. The Bear would be proud.
Alabama, they win the BCS championship behind Coach Nick Saban and quarterback A.J. McCarron.
Saban with his 3rd national championship at Alabama in 4 years. They dominated Notre Dame 42-14.
Alabama back on top of the college football world. 45-40. Alabama wins. It fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins! The Crimson Tide will not be denied. Alabama breaks Georgia Hearts. national championship.
I think that was just 5 of them.
He's got 7 total, 6 with Bama. Remember, he got one at LSU as well.
That's right. Yeah, and then went to Miami for a year, and then off to Alabama. Right.
Yeah, you knew he was going to be the Alabama coach when he sat at a press conference with the Miami Dolphins and said, "I will not be coaching Alabama next year." And then 3 days later, they announced he was the coach of Alabama. That's usually how that stuff works. Okay, it's time for a look back. Not good. Does that sound like a plan?
Rock and roll. Let's do it, man.
January the 11th, in 2010, on this day, Mark McGwire admitted that he had previously used steroids on and off for nearly a decade, including the 1998 season when he broke the single-season home run record that the least shocking sports story ever reported.
Right, but what shame. Remember he sat out there with Maris's family, Roger Maris, right up the road here in North Dakota. A Yankee, of course, when he did it, but and sat there with his family. I'm just honoring him, you cheating piece of steroids.
Yeah. Maris did it on anxiety. I did it on steroids.
Yeah, right.
On this day in 1970, the Kansas City Chiefs won Super Bowl IV, 23-7 over a team that shall go unnamed because we don't want to mention previous pains. Man, that was a tough one. Lenny Dawson was your MVP, 12 of 17 with 142 passing yards, which in 1970 was a hell of a game. Right now, that's a first quarter for most quarterbacks. Yeah. By the way, that was the final Super Bowl before the two leagues officially merged. Remember, there was the NFL and the AFL for the first 4 Super Bowls. Then it became NFC and AFC. But it was 2 different leagues up until that was the final game where 2 different leagues represented. They all got together and decided, instead of making millions, let's make billions. And they've done pretty good at that. On this day in 1998, a Rolling Stone magazine readers poll picked Be Here Now by Oasis as album of the year. Be Here Now was the fastest selling album in British chart history, and it went number 1 in 15 different countries. The music press had slept on Oasis's second album, What's the Story, Morning Glory. So when Oasis released the follow-up, Be Here Now, everybody rushed out to sing its praises and to talk about how they were the greatest band in the world. Noel Gallagher, a couple years later, said they were so excited for us to put out the new album that none of them noticed it was actually shite.
I love him.
Yeah, he's pretty great.
Like he's a brother from another mother.
No one's more self-aware than Noel Gallagher of Oasis. He literally is like, no, that was, the second album, we sold so many records that we just went into the studio to make a third with a big pile of cocaine, and that's what it sounds like.
Well,
God bless him. On this day in 1992, sorry, Brian, on this day in 1992, appeared on Saturday Night Live. Charles Barkley was the host, and it was the day that Nevermind went to number 1 on the U.S. album chart. The album had come out in September. It was number 1 in January. And looking back, you're like, well, yeah, Nirvana was huge. Trust me, they weren't huge. They were a punk band from Seattle whose first record sold 11 copies. They came literally out of nowhere in 4 months to become the biggest band in the world. That must have been a bit of a heady time. But I remember watching them on that show, and I liked the Nirvana punk band I had seen 2 years earlier in a club with 10 other people, and I could not believe. I loved the record, but I just couldn't believe everyone else did too. A huge day for Nirvana. On this day in 1985, there was a rock festival held in Rio de Janeiro. Queen, AC/DC, Whitesnake, yes, Iron Maiden, and the headliner, Rod Stewart. And it came during the celebrations for Copacabana, a season of parties and celebrations. The estimates for that concert's attendance range anywhere from 2.5 to 4.5 million people on the beach in Rio.
Wow.
The one thing we can all agree on is that's a lot of flesh thrashing around on a beach.
Yeah.
Once you go over 2 million, it doesn't matter. It's just more people than should ever be anywhere at one time, especially for a show that Rod Stewart's headlining. How does Rod Stewart follow AC/DC? Well, isn't that a bit of a downturn in vibe and energy?
I know, right? Exactly. I think that Rod pulled it off. Hot legs. You come in with hot legs. I don't know.
Young Turks.
Yeah. There you go.
In 1967, on this day, Jimi Hendrix Experience recorded Purple Haze. Kind of an impactful day. 1967, so many great solo albums were released, including Jimi Hendrix Experience, Are You Experienced? Purple Haze went down this day, and you could say, and I wouldn't argue, rock music's never been the same since. And there you have your history lesson. You can stream 92 KQRS on your phone, listen anywhere you go, or just simply tell your smart speaker, hey, play 92 KQRS.
I love it. All right, at 7 o'clock, we're going to plunge into the workday with your best. You'll never believe what happened at work today story. Give that some thought. Something weird, incredible, fantastic, horrible that happened on the job. Here's one to get you started. A manager at a landscaping company was sleeping with the owner's wife, talking dirty to her with his speakerphone on, and his two-way radio was keyed at the time. So everyone at the company got to share that little tryst. Give us a call on the KQ Talk and Text line this morning, 651-989-ROCK, and hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
It is Thursday, January the 11th. Happy birthday, Brian Zepp. There, I said it again.
Oh,
There, boy, we're really belaboring it this morning, aren't we? No, it's good. It's nice. It's I'm at that age where it's really no big deal anymore. I've long been
Sure.
at that age where it's no big deal, and I don't not look forward to them. Like, oh no, I'm another year older. Is that a wrinkle on my face? I'm way past that phase too, so I just kind of take them as they come. But I appreciate all the well wishes this morning.
Can I read this lovely
As the
text?
old,
Hey, who are you?
You guys hear
there's
me
Tony
okay?
Lee, ladies and gentlemen,
Who's
back
the new
off
guy?
the mat.
Great.
Listen to
Like
it.
that cough.
Okay.
Great.
Don't take deep breaths, man.
So this is, you can hear this. There's not a delay or anything goofbally.
This is correct. You sound like a man with a head cold.
Well, no, I'm much better.
Yeah,
Little nasally.
yeah.
Just
like-
All right, good.
Mucus man. The text
Well, welcome
says,
back, Tony. You
Thank
came
you.
back just in to say happy birthday. That's a beautiful gesture.
God, happy birthday, Brother Zepp and Uncle Brian. Big hugs from the first family, Skeets, Long Suffering, and the kiddos.
The Morris
I trust you know what that means.
Yeah, Morissette's up there in Zimmerman. I call him Minnesota's first family.
Man, that's nice. The greatest cliche, the truest cliche is, another birthday beats the alternative, and that's a very real thing. So happy
but
to always say happy birthday to everybody that I get to say that to.
Yes, sir.
Right on, right on, right on. I've heard some stories about things that happened at KQ before my time. I've only been here a year, so the stories go on for hours sometimes. A lot, but any workplace is going to have those kind of stories, a lot of scandals. I've missed out for decades of my life being in a rock band. There's nothing scandalous. It was like, somebody, there's a breakup, there's an affair, there's drug use, there's rampant drinking on the job. It's just called Tuesday or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a whole different scenario. I always said that, the drug testing we did was to make sure people were maintaining minimum amounts in their bloodstream at all times. So
Literally testing the drugs to make sure that they were up to snuff. Yeah, all right.
yeah, so there's an awful lot of things that I did miss along the way. But I'm certainly aware of it. I've heard these things, but we are looking at scandalous things that have happened on people's work sites, and they just go on and on and on because who goes to work? Humans, just regular people like everybody, and everybody's life, if put in the proper context with the right actor cast and with the right lighting, your life is as dramatic as anybody's. I think we can all agree on that.
Oh yeah, no doubt, absolutely. I just got caught reading this list that we found online of some people kicking some things in. By the way, scandalous, crazy things happen at your workplace. If it's not going to get you tanked at work today, or even if it is, we'll make room for you over here. We need another intern. 651-989-ROCK. That's the talk and text line. Chime in here. Steve, this is quite a list we have. My God, right off the top, the boss allegedly mixed her own pee into the water cooler and let her employees drink from it. I mean, obviously got fired, but what's going on? I mean, is that a sign of affection? Is she upset with them? I don't know what's happening.
That's a special sort of there's a there's that thing called Munchausen by proxy where where a parent will make their child sick to get the attention. This is something like that. I don't know. It's got to be like a Munchausen by PP or something. There's got to be a name for a condition where somebody looks at a water cooler at the work site, thinks, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put some of my urine into that water, and then I won't tell anybody. Yeah, that's a mental disorder, to say the very least. She was caught. That's the craziest part about this, is she got caught, of course. Imagine that conversation. Wait, hey, the water tasted a little weird, so I went back and looked at the camera, the security footage. By the way, our boss peed into the water cooler. How in the world does the rest of that day go down at that work site?
Yeah, how do you justify that? You can't say, I took a wrong turn, didn't go to the lavatory, I couldn't hold it.
It was an emergency.
Yeah. Pooping in an airline seat is one thing, but the pee into the water cooler. And I'm sorry, firing doesn't cover it. If I'm the employee that drank the pee, and what did you do? You fired her? We're going to need something more than that. I don't know what it is. Break her ankle or something. I mean, come on, man. Just getting fired? Does that show up when she applies for a new job? I see here that you peed in the water cooler at your last position.
Yeah, full disclosure.
I mean, on her way, I'm just picturing her leaving with her cardboard box full of her stuff. Like every movie scene where anyone leaves work, they have one box, and there's usually a plant and like a calculator in it. I'm just, she walks out to the parking lot, and what is she, like, flatten tires on her way out of the building? Like, I want to make sure you don't forget me by tomorrow. So here's a little something for the road. I love this one on the list. Here's someone wrote, when my school changed accrediting agencies, the new agency required all faculty to provide proof of graduate degrees. One professor was discovered who had been employed for years based on a PhD that they actually did not have the PhD. And when confronted, the professor claimed that he was in witness protection and the PhD was part of his cover.
Hey, well, that's clever. You got to be able to prove that, however.
I like the fact that for years, this man knew they might find out. And if so, I've got the perfect airtight alibi. I mean, no, you don't. Because it goes on and says one of the administrators was actually married to an FBI agent who clarified, that's not how witness protection works, bud. That's not really it. The next day there was an opening in the department. Every day at work, you are a professor and you are teaching people. And in the back of your mind, every single day you're going, this might be the day the phone rings. This could be it. A PhD that you don't actually possess. The funny thing about PhDs is, people can track those.
They do contract those. We have a broadcasting school here, or we had one in Minneapolis called Brown Institute. I don't think it's around any longer, but I went to Brown Institute for a time. I did not graduate. I dropped out and decided to go paint houses in Boston that summer. It sounded like a better gig. And when I was at a different radio station, the one before I worked here in Minneapolis, another big radio station I worked at before KQ, someone came in and thought they would get me into a little bit of trouble. I had made an enemy, apparently, and they said, we found out that Brian Zepp actually never graduated from Brown Institute. On his resume, it says he is a graduate. I did lie and say that I graduated from Brown Institute. And I remember the PD going, What? He went to Brown Institute? Well, who cares? We like the DJs that didn't finish Brown Institute. Yeah. So they thought they were kicking up a little scandal there. Not quite the same thing as faking a PhD, I guess. Speaking of, here's a really good one. A doctor and a nurse, we're talking about scandalous things that happened at work. 651-989-ROCK, you want to chime in. A doctor and a nurse secretly having an affair. Of course, how cliche. No one knew, however, until he got mauled by a bear on a rafting trip. The nurse also on the rafting trip with him and saved his life. Those two had taken a little clandestine rafting trip to get it on in nature, I guess. And what bad luck. He got mauled by a bear on the rafting trip, and that's how they got busted. That's beautiful. I love it.
That's. I think that's called the karma police coming in, knocking. Like, it does remind me though. One of the rules I've always had is if I'm hiking in bear country, I like to be with medical personnel. Already have them on site, a doctor and a nurse if possible. This trip these two people took. That's the time I would walk through bear country. Excuse me. I'm with a doctor and a nurse. Yeah, all right. Let's go see what happens. So at least they had that going for them, at least.
Right. Brought the team, as it were. I love it.
That's another good one too. Like, oh my God, did you hear about Dr. X? He was mauled by a bear. Is he going to be okay? Yeah. The weirdest thing, the nurse from his floor happened upon him in the woods, and she was able to save his life and stop the bleeding. That's an amazing break. What was she doing there? Not really sure. She's not much of an outdoorsy gal.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, they should have stayed in the cabin, I guess, and out of the raft, out of the outside.
There was some when I was in high school. I'm just now thinking about it. I got to think high schools are kind of rampant with this, but we had several between 8th, 9th through high school, 4 or 5 years at my school. There were a couple different teacher affairs that were disclosed. Couple teachers, everybody married, and then all of a sudden everybody's divorced. And I mean, that was a weird one for kids to find out because, of course, word gets around, and you're like, wait a minute, the history teacher and the music teacher are what? Like you can't even imagine it. And there was an administrator and one of the teachers, and they got busted. And it was, I don't remember the details, but it was like a movie scene. Like the wife walked into the room, and apparently it was really, really, really horrible. And they both, so the two that were caught cheating, they left their current marriages. They then got married, and 50 years later, somehow, almost 50 years later, still together, did great. It turned out they were actually a really nice couple. But man, when those kind of things start chirping in school and the kids are passing notes, and they're like, the teachers think you're passing notes about each other, and you're like, no, we're passing notes about you. This isn't about the cheerleaders. This is about you and the music teacher.
Oh, thank goodness it was teacher on teacher anyway, not teacher on student. Too many of those out there. You talked about being in a rock band. There wasn't anything outrageous. I mean, you lived the outrageous life. There was no scandals on the job. Radio, a bit like that, not to that degree as well. We've had so many. I mean, I've seen, witnessed listeners eat raw cow eyeballs for concert tickets. But within the workplace, I think we've seen it all. I'm not even going to get into the sexual stuff, but shortly after I started at the Q, I was thinking about this because I just heard from the world's greatest engineer this morning about the lady that peed in the water cooler, and he texted, I bet she was pissed when she got fired. See what he did there with the rim shot? But he got into a fist fight, or just a knockdown, drag-out fight. I'm not going to use names, but into a knockdown, drag-out fight shortly after I got to KQ with our afternoon guy. They're just crashing down the hallway. Things are flying. They're charging into a closet. And I noticed people were looking around like, oh, yeah, there are those two again. They're hot-tempered. And then everybody goes back to their job like it was normal. And I knew that I had arrived at a true animal house.
Yeah, it happened more than once.
Yeah, right. It was another day on the job. Here's someone at a call center talking about the scandalous things that have happened on the job. Someone at a call center used the bathroom and smeared it all over the walls. The bathroom wasn't open to the public, so it had to be an employee, but no one fessed up. Check their fingernails.
Ish.
Oh. Yeah. That's
nasty.
No
kidding. Speaking of rock bands where people, you have on the job scandals that don't really exist because you're a rock band, so everyone just assumes that's normal. Lynyrd Skynyrd has the greatest ever, and that's the bassist Leon Wilkeson on a tour bus was in his bunk asleep, and he woke up having had his throat slit.
What? Huh?
Yeah, it didn't kill him. It wasn't deep enough to, get the jugular, but somebody took a knife and tried to slash the bass player's throat on the bus on the highway at night. Now, you know who's on that bus? The band.
Right.
and he never found out who did it.
I think I'm not on the bus anymore. I mean, did he catch any winks again on the bus, or was he just?
I've heard that from a few different sources that he woke up, his throat was cut, he was bleeding, and there was just a lot of cacophony going on, and by the time he rolled out of the bunk and got his wits about him, and he had been sound asleep, it could have been anybody. Like, everybody's just moving around, nobody ever copped to it. I just thought, man, that's about as good as rock dysfunction gets right there. I mean, it's one thing that, it's one thing for Fleetwood Mac to all be sleeping with each other. It's one thing for, a million bands, not just my own, but for the two brothers to literally be fist fighting on stage. This is a whole nother level. I mean, this is an entirely different thing. By the way, hey man, sorry. Remember that trip from Spokane over? We were going Spokane to Boise. Yeah, that was me. I'm sorry. I tried to kill you in your sleep. What in the hell?
I'm so incompetent. I couldn't finish the job.
Right, and then you couldn't.
But the good news is I think I've written a hit, and it was inspired by events on that night.
Man, that's pretty freaky. That's next level. All right, I'm guessing you tooling along with us out there this morning are going, well, I thought I had something scandalous, but after these stories, I don't know. If you've got something scandalous that happened at work you'd like to get off your chest, we'd love to hear from you. Again, the talk and text line, 651-989-ROCK. We're going to keep the theme at the workplace, and maybe these all start in the interview process. Maybe these people aren't being, fleshed out, as it were, vetted properly in the interview process, but CareerBuilder.com just released their list from last year of the strangest things, according to interviewers, that happened during job interviews. It's a pretty solid list. We've got that coming here at 7:30, a game show at 8 o'clock. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line, 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Thursday, January 11th. Monday around NFL circles of this week is Black Monday. That's always the day after the regular season ends, and a lot of coaches are sent packing. There have been coaching changes this week. The biggest one yet by far just in, and that is that Bill Belichick is out officially as the Patriots head coach. Baby, 24-year tenure. Easily, by a mile, the greatest run of a coach with a franchise for an almost quarter century in NFL history. Granted, since Tommy Brady went south, it's not been quite the same. But 6 Super Bowl wins in and what the AFC East, 16 titles or something, and absurd, a run for the ages. Nobody's ever had a straight decade of dominance. He had 2 decades of dominance in New England. So Bill Belichick is out now, of course, flying around, taking interviews from other teams who think that Bill Belichick still has something to offer. I think the game has passed him by a little bit, certainly offensively, but man, there's no getting around the fact he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. And the Patriots now moving on. And of course, the smart money is on Mike Vrabel, who my Tennessee Titans stupidly fired a couple days ago. The dumbest move in recent NFL history. Oh, boy, am I looking for a new team, and I just happen to be in Minnesota now, so it looks like I'm a Vikings guy because the Titans are just too damn frustrating.
Well, I mean, it seemed, I think everyone was a little skeptical when they hired Vrabel, and then it turns out to be a pretty damn good coach, and once you give him a couple of seasons in the NFL to develop, I mean, remember Belichick was at the Browns, Patriots, Giants then as assistant coaches, and different with Bill Parcells tagging along. It takes a while to develop an NFL team. Maybe they felt like it wasn't the right fit, but I agree. Big money
6
on
years
him going back to New England, Yeah,
Vrabel was there 6 years, 4 winning seasons. The last two fell apart, but they were it's interesting, 2 losing seasons, and the 2 seasons where they set the record for most players used in one season. They had 91 players dressed last year because they had so many injuries. They're on 4th and 5th string offensive linemen. If you're going to fire someone, fire the team doctors, for God's sakes. They can't keep these guys healthy. Get a yoga instructor in there. Get some stretching in, something. But so Nick Saban out at Alabama, Belichick out at New England. That's the two. You can make strong arguments that the greatest college coach and the greatest NFL coach of all time, both looking for work on the same day. I don't think Saban's looking for work. He's retiring, but Belichick's going to keep coaching. He wants to break the all-time wins record, I think. So we'll see. That'll be interesting. The job interviews with Bill Belichick, can you imagine? So, what do you think you can do for the team? I mean, I just want to see Bill Belichick sitting across the desk from somebody trying to explain why they should hire him.
Exactly, Bill Belichick.
What are your
job
strengths
interview.
and weaknesses?
Yeah, right. So you're on an island, stranded on an island. Give me 5 life goals. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, Bill?
It's pretty great. Pretty great. One in 5 employees in a recent survey, speaking of job interviews, said they've had a recent college graduate. 1 in 5. Okay, I have to reset this because it's actually, I would have thought 1 in 100. 1 in 5 employers say that recently they have interviewed a college graduate, someone who's just out of school, going for that first, quote, real job, and that 1 in 5 of those people bring a parent to the job interview.
What?
Oh, it's the beginning
I
of the
kid
end.
you not. I kid you not. I would rather be sitting across the desk from a college graduate who's holding a teddy bear than who brings their mom or dad with them.
That's kind of the same thing almost. I mean,
Well,
oh my God.
but the
can you
teddy bear,
imagine?
the teddy bear tells me they're honest about their limitations and needs, but they're dealing with it in a way that's not harmful. It's maybe a little weird, but they're like, hey man, like saying, oh, you've got a limp, but I see you've put on an ankle brace. That's what that says to me.
Okay.
The parent coming in, come on, man. It's like, did the parent feed the kid grapes like Julius Caesar? That was a great answer, honey. Here's another grape.
Well, maybe if I was the boss, I'd double down. I'd call their bluff. I'd say, all right, you're hired, but you have to bring your mom with you to work every day. And just to make sure the job gets done right.
Yeah.
I can't trust you to interview.
Or just hire Or just hire the mom.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Just, you know what? I don't know if you're looking for work, but I'd like to offer this position to you, Madeline.
Oh, man, that'd be great, wouldn't it? Oh, yeah, well,
It's pretty incredible.
That's an issue. That's a problem. Yeah, I read something the other day that employers, for the first time, there's a shift back to hiring more for experience than there is for college grads. That was the big thing for a while. Get the fresh young college grad right out of college. You're going to save yourself a couple of bucks because it's a starter job for them, right? And then you can develop them and that sort of thing and mold them. They don't come in with all those cynical old habits that sometimes employees after 10, 20 years on the job can form. But now it's kind of shifting back the other way, and this has got to be a big reason why, because they're bringing mommy and daddy to the interview. 1 in 5. That's shocking. And the parents going. What's wrong with you out there, mom and dad? Ugh.
Some of it, I'm sure some of it is the parent insisting. You know what I mean? That's the problem. Weird. When Connell was born in the year 2000, when Rosemary and I had our first baby, the term helicopter parenting was around for the first time. And it was, the parents who were just everywhere. And we grew up my wife and I grew up at a time, as did Zepp and Tony. We were all kind of the same age. Walk out of the door in the morning in the summer, and just my mom's, all she said was dinner's at 6. Yeah. That was it. Like, whatever you do between right now and 6, I'm probably better off not knowing. And that was how we were raised. And that's certainly not the case. As parents now, my wife and I were pushing against all of the involvement of other parents. They just had to know everything. It's one thing for arranging play dates and, making sure when someone drops their kid off, they'd be like, now, do you guys have any GMO-free Tostitos chips here? Whatever, a little over the top. Yeah. But what it really got distressing was as kids were going through like adolescence, and there would be little dates and crushes, and the parents were staying involved on that level. Like Rosemary would get texts from other moms saying, have you heard about, and it's not even about like our kids. It's like, did you hear about that kid and that kid? It looks like they're dating now. And my wife would be like, and what did you do in 8th grade? Did you have a crush? Do you think our parents talked about it? What the hell's happening here? Right. I think these parents are pushing their way into these job interviews. The other thing, over half of employers say recent college graduates really struggle with some very simple things like eye contact. That's also a very, very, very difficult thing for people coming out of college. I mean, clearly there needs to be okay, that's great. You've got your marketing degree and you understand, you do some really wonderful work there with numbers, but let's talk about eye contact and handshakes. Like, let's just talk about some real world qualifications here.
Yeah, it's it feels like we used to have that when I was in school. It'd be like, all right, here's how you balance your checkbook. Here's how you, back in the day when we had checkbooks to balance. And the phone, the little smartphone didn't do it for us. And I suppose that's it, when you spend so much screen time getting in there face to face with someone in an office and making eye contact when you're young like that, just out of college. It must seem a little freaky. Someone needs to get them a little better prepped to go into these job interviews. Steve, you mentioned 1 in 5 job interviewers have had a Gen Zer come in for an interview and bring their parent with them. Would you rather, as an interviewer, have that, or would you rather have someone brag about how they made the paper once for stealing an old woman's treadmill in a job interview? Which happened. It's one of Career Builder's annual list of weirdest things people have done in job interviews. Yeah, bragged how they made the paper once. Yeah, for stealing an old woman's treadmill, but I got the clipping right here. Look at that. Look at that picture. Pretty nice.
Oh my God. I got into a fight, right there, right about to throw hands, had to talk and de-escalate a guy down from a fist fight. He was my roommate for one semester in school. Totally insane guy from Appalachia. It's a long story. However, he walked into the room one day and he said, "Hey, Steve, my dad made the paper back home." That's what he said. My dad made the paper back home. And I, not knowing much about this man or his family or anything, I said, "Oh, finally made the obituaries, did he?" I said that. Didn't think about it. Oh. And apparently this guy's dad was really much older. Like, he had been a late in life accident baby. So his dad was like 80. Ooh. And he took it wrong. And, Appalachia, that's honor territory. He stood up and threw, "Let's go." And I had to talk him down. Like, I'm sorry. What joke? What are you talking about? I had no idea. And he went into the whole, "My dad honorably served in World War II." I'm like, that's great. Right. It was real close. And I'm just thinking, man, I gotta think about the things I say to people. Apparently, who knew?
You do.
I thought it was kind of a funny line myself.
This one, this must have been. It is a great line. This one must have been a KQ listener. In a job interview, a guy asked where the closest bar was. Well, you'd always know where to find him, right? When he wasn't at the office, must be down at Cubby's.
You gotta like a kid, someone sitting at the interview, and you're discussing the day-to-day workflow, and they just literally go, "So, we're gonna get out of here. What, around 5 every day? What's the closest bar?" I mean, right away, just lay it on the table. No secrets. I got plans, and they're gonna be to work here, kinda, and to drink there for real.
Why not? Why not?
Man, that's just great. Oh, hey, here's some great news. The 11th annual Tee It Up golf card goes on sale tomorrow, Friday, January 12th at 9 a.m. Golfers of the world, unite and take over. This gives you a chance to golf 6 area courses, and you do it saving $175. The 11th annual Tee It Up golf card on sale tomorrow at 9 a.m. You can get yours at 92kqrs.com. Search the keyword golf, and let's get after it. Oh, man, I'm very excited about my 24. I'm calling it the 2024 campaign. That's how seriously I'm taking my golf game this year. It's a campaign.
Well, hold you to it. I know. I'm excited. I'm going to have to find an indoor, shank some indoors somewhere just to get me to spring. Here's some more good news. We got a $100 Visa gift card just burning a hole in our pocket. So right now on the KQ92 Talk and Text line, we'll take caller 9-651-989-ROCK. We're playing for that $100 Visa gift card and your own copy of Blank Slate. That's the basis for a new show hosted by Mario Lopez, weeknights at 5 on the Game Show Network. Prize provided by Impact Promotions and Marketing. Don't forget to watch Blank Slate, weeknights at 5 Central, the Game Show Network, 651-989-ROCK. Dial up. Good luck and hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
Good morning. Two big pieces of news for you today. Tony's back and Brian is celebrating a birthday. There. Aww. We've gotten it out of the way at the top of the hour. Welcome back, Tony.
Thanks.
Welcome, continued welcome to the planet, Brian Zepp.
Thank you.
Baby Z.
Baby Z.
It's weird to think about you as a baby.
Well, I was just called a big baby the other day by Maria, so I have my moments.
Brian Zepp, one of the few babies ever born already smoking a cigarette, oddly enough.
With a full beard and a flannel.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Born wearing flannel. That's way funnier than coming out burning a lung dart. I just coming out in a flannel shirt. That's great.
It's okay, Steve. One day you might be as funny as me, but maybe that day will never
listen,
come.
Hope springs eternal, my dear.
There are some seminars you can take.
If you're looking to get into coaching, there's a lot of opportunities now. University of Alabama, Nick Saban is stepping down, the greatest, I should say Alabama University. No, it's University of Alabama. What am I talking about? The greatest coach in college football, arguably, as is Bill Belichick, leaving the New England Patriots. That's a couple of true... those are titanic figures in college and NFL coaching, both on the bounce. One thing you got to, I'm fully down with the Vikings coaching situation. I think O'Connell's good. I think he's, 2 years in. This year with all the injuries and stuff, still pulled out more wins than you probably might have expected. I'm not one of those guys going, well, this is going to be his deciding year. I feel pretty good about him. I think they're in a good place. That's a good place to be. It's a league where if you have the right coach and the right quarterback, really the rest will take care of itself eventually. Let's hope both of those things come around to the Vikings sooner than later as we move forward. Brian, I'm still thrilled about the fact that you picked the Packers over the Cowboys this weekend. It's my favorite pick of the week. Yeah. I consume a lot of sports media in a day. I just drive, if I'm in the car, I'm listening. If I'm scanning Twitter, most of my Twitter feed is just sports stuff. And it's every day people are talking themselves into Green Bay going down and pulling off the major upset win. But I know that you're the first person I saw anywhere that I'm aware of who called his shot. So I'm pulling for you, brother.
It's the only game this weekend, Steve, that's really considered a slam dunk. Dallas at home against whatever the 7th, 8th seed there, the Green Bay Packers, stumbling through the season, kind of like the Vikings. They just, stumbled a bit further and got across the playoff line there. So just to be outrageous, I thought I'd throw it out there. But I saw it yesterday also on social media. It's gaining some traction because I think it is. The rest of the games are almost pick'ems. I mean, they could really go either way, but that one, like I said, should be, and it's the Dallas Cowboys. Who doesn't want to see another Dallas Cowboy? I'm still going back to that Vikings trade with Herschel Walker, where we gave them 3 Super Bowls in a dynasty.
Of course.
For Herschel Walker, for a couple of highlights here in Minnesota. And so, I'd like to see him go down hard, and if our buddies over here across the border can get it done, high five.
It's always good when your division foes succeed. Who am I kidding? No, it's not. I hate watching my division foes win. But no, if the Packers were playing the Niners, I'd be like, yeah, let's go San Francisco. But against Dallas, it doesn't matter who it is. If you're playing Dallas, I'm on your side, at least for one Sunday. The games this weekend will be, like you said, there's a lot of really, really just throw up a coin and see what you think's going to happen. So should be an absolutely great weekend of games. And speaking of games, there is a new game show on television. Mario Lopez hosts nights at 5 on the Game Show Network. It's called Blank Slate. And Tony, please explain the game that we are about to play.
I'd be delighted to. There is, like you said, a new fun new game show weeknights at 6, 5 Central on Game Show Network. It's called Blank Slate, and it's hosted by the one, the only Mario Lopez. It's about matching clever fill-in-the-blank answers with your teammates, getting some help from various comedian guests like Caroline Ray, Sarah Tiana, Jenny Zigrino, just to name a few. and getting a bonus for also matching the top answer with the people at home who have been previously polled. We're going to play a radio version of Blank Slate right now, and Candace has listeners on the line, and once they pop on, I'll just explain further how it works.
Very good. Candace, who is on the horn first?
George from Newport.
George, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing, buddy?
Everything's great over here, Chief. You ready to play Blank Slate?
I'll give it my best shot, my friend.
All right,
Right
Georgie
on.
boy, what I'm going to do is read a fill-in-the-blank question and ask the amazingly intelligent Steve Gorman to write down his answer. And if you can match the same answer as the Gorman boy or the people at home top answer, you're going to win $100 and a Blank Slate board game. How about that?
Well, that'd be awesome.
All right. Are you ready to hear your question?
Oh, I just got to fill in the blank. Okay.
Yeah, fill in the blank and match. All right, they're kind of silly. When Stephanie tried to dance with a blank at the insect hoedown, she couldn't keep up with all of its legs.
Could you repeat that, please?
Sure. When Stephanie tried to dance with a blank at the insect hoedown, she couldn't keep up with all of its legs.
Oh, I got two answers, but I think Steve said spider.
I did not say spider because
I was going to say centipede.
Yeah, that's where I went, George. I went with centipede.
You
Sorry
always
to
go
say,
with
but you know what?
centipede.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think a centipede or a spider is actually an insect.
Oh, really?
Isn't an insect only?
Millipede or something?
Doesn't an insect only have 6 legs? Like if you have more than 6 legs, you're not technically. I could
Let's
be
give him
wrong.
another
I
one.
failed every science class I ever took.
What about fill in the blank suggests smart thinking, critical
I don't
thinking
know.
there, Mr. Gorman, intellect. Put
think
it down,
Steve's right.
put it aside.
Thank you, George. Appreciate the backup, brother.
Right, Giorgio, we're going to give you another one here.
Okay.
Wait, what was the people at home answer on that one?
The people at home answer was beetle.
What the heck?
Beetle. Wow.
Isn't that cuckoo?
Wow.
All right.
Dumb it down, guys.
Right. All right, the second one. When Donna was told not to put all her eggs in one basket, she said, I don't have an egg basket. I only have a blank basket and a blank basket.
Okay, repeat that one more time, please.
When Donna was told not to put all her eggs in one basket, she said, I don't have an egg basket. I only have a blank basket and a blank basket.
God, that's a tough one. I would say a laundry basket and a bike basket. I don't know.
Okay, George, we're halfway home, brother. I went laundry basket and a picnic basket.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, all three of them were pretty good. I don't suppose you get a halvesy on that, do you? No.
I don't know.
That was
what do you think?
That was the
Yeah.
people at home answer, too.
Yeah.
Was picnic and laundry.
George wins.
Oh, really? George,
Everyone else
I think,
hung
I
up.
think-
So.
God, come on, I'm your buddy.
Who's your buddy?
Way to go, George.
I don't know. It's Quizmaster Tony Lee's ultimate decision. He's the one in the robe, and he wins.
All right.
There's the applause.
The Polish
That's
Christmas
great,
hat.
George. Congratulations, George.
Thank you.
All right, see ya.
Man, that's exciting stuff.
Don't
All right,
forget
so-
to watch
and
Blank Slate weeknights at 6/5 Central on Game Show Network.
All right. Mario
Thank you, George.
Lopez.
So yeah, that's and you did so well. You ran all the other callers off, George. So well done.
Smooth as butter.
I did want to go into a different direction here, guys, if that's okay. Now, we mentioned it's Zeb's birthday. That's a special day. But today's also a sad day because the makers of Fruit Stripe Gum have announced they're discontinuing after a 55-year run. That's the colorful zebra print chewing gum. And so already on eBay, people are selling unopened packs for crazy prices. A couple thoughts on this. I didn't know fruit stripe gum still existed.
Yeah.
And
right.
if memory serves, that amazing burst of flavor when you put that gum in your mouth lasts for about 9 seconds.
Yes, but it's so good.
Yeah, right.
But it is a good 9 seconds.
Yeah.
I like you, I was shocked to find that it was still being made. But yeah, I do remember that. It was the lamest of all the chewable gum. Sorry, Candace, because of that. It just quickly turned to plastic in your mouth. But, I mean, it was fun. It looked good, I guess,
You know, sometimes all you need is 9 seconds.
That's right.
Amen, sister.
The 5 flavors of fruit stripe gum. Are you ready for this? Wet and wild melon, cherry, lemon, orange, and peach. Wow, man.
Gross.
Briefly, by the way, there was a chocolate flavor back in the 70s for a little while. Yeah, that's a little strange. The zebra mascot, here, check this out. Who knew this? Fruit stripe gum had a zebra mascot. The mascot's name was Yipes. And the slogan originally was Yipes, Stripes. That's great.
He's so cute. He's playing soccer.
He's a cute little multicolored zebra, isn't he?
Yeah.
So let's see. It's a tough day. Fruit stripe gum going the way of the dodo bird and the 100 grand bar. Many of our favorite. By the way, did you know atomic fireballs were discontinued last year?
Oh.
I didn't know they were still around just last year.
Yeah.
I do remember. I still.
Yeah, I'll still rock one when I see one, but I guess I'm not going to see one anytime soon. The Abba Zaba chocolate bar is no longer with us. Bit of licorice. A bit of honey still exists. Bit of licorice. No, they put that in the ditch. There's a lot of these. I'm looking at a list of discontinued candies over the last few years, and tons of which I'd never even heard of. But yeah, there's a few. You know, they pop out and you're just like. Remember Certs? They were discontinued in 2016. I didn't know.
They had that little sound effect. They used to use that on an old radio show. That little, remember it had that drop of what in it?
Oh, Retsin? I know what that is. Retsin.
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 And they had that little bling and that little clean sound. You'd hear it. You'd be like, "Oh, that's a fresh breath sound." What about the O. Henry bar? That bad boy still around anymore? I don't know.
Let's take a look. The O. Henry bar in 2018. Nestle sold the rights to another company, but the bars have disappeared from the shelves. Not formally discontinued, but no one's calling for O. Henry. How about this? The Payday chocolate covered version. I've never even heard of a chocolate covered Payday.
Yum.
Yeah, it sounds great, actually.
Yeah, it does. I'll take.
Big fan of the Payday bar. Big fan of the Payday bar, but you got to get it fresh. I mean, I've had a way past the date Payday bar and barely lived to tell the tale. It doesn't work well.
Another one of those bad airline stories. Yeah, I know. Well, the good news here is I believe the world's largest, or Minnesota's largest candy store is closed till spring. I think down there near Jordan on 169. But you'll be able to find all these discontinued candies, including the fruit-striped gum. Probably well into the next century, I think. They've got it all down there.
Yeah,
I don't know where they get their stock, but they find it somehow. It's all there. I like it.
Yeah, there's every now and again I'll see a discontinued candy, and then even more importantly, the discontinued breakfast cereal, or you can still buy certain cereals, but only online. Like you don't see crisp in the stores, but you can still go order it online. It's kind of exciting for me. I do on occasion yearn for a box of buckwheats, and that sends me scrambling to the internet.
You know what? For your birthday, I tried to find that for you.
Yeah.
And I could not find it anywhere. Did you really? There's so many years past. Yeah, I was going to surprise you with a box of buckwheats.
Oh, man.
There was, I purchased buckwheats online, but it's been probably 15 years. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that it's, since I think I was the only guy to order it after 1989. That's probably why they've discontinued.
That's the expiration date on the box of buckwheat still flowing around out there. I can't even say it. Buckwheats. Well, all right, listen, gang. We've been dabbling with playoff football. It is going to be exciting. Wild card weekend, NFL football playoffs. I start to almost peter out at the end of the season. Last couple, especially the Vikes, just, we're putting it together. But then we get to the playoffs. I'm re-energized. So we're going to have our Vikings insider, now our NFL playoffs insider, Sam Ekstrom, I believe, joining us at 8:30. If I'm correct on that, get a thumbs up. Sounds good?
That's the plan.
That's happening here at 8:30.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, let's do it. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Thursday, January 11th, ahead of the NFL playoffs that kick off this weekend. Still looking back a little bit on the Vikings season that was. Why not wrap it all up with Sam Ekstrom? He's a host and Vikings insider for the podcast network Locked On Minnesota. You, of course, hear him on the Ron Johnson Show and the Minnesota Football Party and the Vikings postcast after each game. But you will not hear him again because the Vikings are done for the season, at least on that postcast. Sam, welcome. Good, sir.
1 second.
1 second.
1 second.
Do we have 1 second for a button to be hit, or is it 1 second for Sam to show up? I don't know what's happening here. Here's Sam. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning. How are you?
All is well. Happy New Year to you, sir. Hope all is. I hope January's been your kind of month so far. What exception?
Happy New Year to you as well. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, not a great month so far for the Vikes, but hey, it's a new year, 2024. We've already turned the page to next season.
Well, okay, but before we do that, let's look back at this season. 10 years from now, Sam, if someone says the 23 Vikings, will you remember it more for the defensive turnaround under Flores, the quarterback carousel? What's this year's one headline going to be 10 years in the future?
Yeah, this is the year the quarterback got hurt, because you had a quarterback that never gets hurt, playing some of his best football, got hurt. And from there, headline number 2, probably the quarterback carousel that ensued, 5 or 6 quarterback changes in the final half of the season. And that'd be headline number 3. So I gave you 3. Cousins gets hurt, the QB roulette game that they played, and then giving the ball away week in and week out. Those are kind of the big headlines. This league is driven by quarterbacks. When you lose your starter and your starter's pretty good, typically you're not going to survive.
That all makes sense. Do you think Brian Flores will be back next season?
It's kind of leaning that way at the moment, but, again, we're seeing head coach like Belichick now looks like he's out. We've got these coach openings popping up here, like one per day. So I guess those teams maybe haven't had time to put together their interview lists yet. I haven't seen Flores attached to any of those teams at the moment. It only takes one, but obviously the fewer interviews you do, the less likely you are to get hired. So I guess more than 50% at this point, which I wouldn't have said a month ago. I mean, a month ago, he seemed like the hottest candidate on the defensive side of the ball in the league, and things have certainly cooled off since then. So feels like about a 75% chance he's back.
All right. Well, I mean, that's some good news as a Vikings fan. What you're looking at right now is the draft. It's all about the draft, baby. I think I read that we have the 11th pick going into the draft. Now Cousins trying to rework his contract. He wants to stick around. GM says, hey, we want him to stick around. A lot of that kind of talk. But clearly they're going to want to draft a quarterback because no one's sitting on the bench anyone's real excited about. Not a great quarterback class, Sam. Who might the Vikings be looking at there at the 11th pick?
Boy, ask me in a month and I'll probably have a surefire opinion for you. I know, here's the thing. This is the classic conundrum. You're in the 11th spot, and there's probably 7 teams in front of you that could conceivably take a quarterback. So a lot of the good ones to be gone. Caleb Williams and Drake May, they're the consensus 1 and 2. The guy who played in the national championship, Michael Penix Jr., is the trendiest name right now. Didn't play great in the national championship for Washington, but he's still put together a fantastic year. Jaden Daniels, super mobile, I believe Heisman winner out of LSU. That's another big name. So, yeah, I think 11, if the Vikings want one of their favorite quarterbacks, they probably have to trade up. That probably means they're giving up future first-round picks. This might be the year to do it. I mean, this might be the year with it is a pretty good, like, top 5 quarterbacks, if not top 6, top 7. So trade up, give up some future assets, and go get the guy this year. This might be the time to do it. But whoever they get, they're probably going to have some mobility to them, some playmaking to them. That's just the new brand of quarterback coming out of college football. And there's a couple options there for them if they want to get aggressive.
Yeah. Sam, all right, Vikes, we'll put it away for a little bit, maybe get back to it as we get closer to the draft. The wild card weekend coming up, I think a lot of these are are pick-em games, even with some, against the Vegas odds. Most of them, I think could probably go either way except for that game down in Dallas. I hung my ass out last week and said, I'm picking Green Bay over Dallas, just to try and be outrageous. But Steve made the comment earlier, it's getting a little traction among the pundits online. Green Bay going to Dallas for the inconceivable upset. Any chance here I'm going to win my money?
I think if you take the points, take the 7.5 points for Green Bay, I think you've got a great chance. If you take the money line, I don't love your chances, but this is Dallas we're talking about. They have a tendency to melt down in these situations. Jordan Love has been good this year in domes. From what I've read, like in a controlled environment, he's been pretty good. I think Dallas has shown me enough that I think they escaped the wild card round this year. I'm trying to find a better upset special for you, and I guess they're just all so even. It's not a bad pick, Zep. I mean, I like the boldness, I like the aggressiveness, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, all right. I did take the point.
Sam Ekstrom's with us on the KQ Morning Show. Sam, the other NFC North team in the postseason, the Lions, they got to host the Rams. 8 weeks ago, you wouldn't have even thought the Rams would make the postseason. Now you got more people than that I read or follow saying they think the Rams are going to take this one. Do you think the Lions are going to be the Lions and go down in flames, or is this the year they finally break through?
Yeah, a tough matchup for them. They've got their former quarterback coming in with 2 great wide receivers. Here's an exercise for you. Name 3 Rams defenders besides Aaron Donald. You probably can't. The Rams are an anonymous team defensively. Nobody expected them to be in this position. Young roster. They're set up for a while now. If they can, keep those offensive pieces together, they're in good shape for the future because they went super young, and they just rebuilt on the fly. They did it really, really well. And if I'm the Lions and their defense, which has been really vulnerable, I'm worried. I mean, I think that I know it's only a 3-point underdog, but I'd be worried if I was Detroit. That being said, Detroit, top 5 offensive team. They might have to win shootouts in the postseason, but they're equipped to do that. Either team to come out of there would be a good story. I think I'm actually rooting for Detroit a little bit. I've got some Detroit Lions fan buddies that have suffered too long. The Rams have their Super Bowl. Let the Lions have this one.
Let the Lions have this one. Sam, I'll tell you who's worried. I've got a lot of family members from eastern Pennsylvania, big Philadelphia Eagles fans. There's the Philly-Tampa Bay unbelievably game, but they're sweating bullets. Philly against anyone these days, but Tampa Bay suddenly who finds themselves with Mayfield in the playoffs.
Yeah, the Bucks needed a 9-3 win or 9-0 win against Carolina just to get in on the last day. Didn't exactly storm into the playoffs, but hey, neither did Philadelphia. I mean, Philadelphia has been ailing now for about 7 weeks. They're still a pretty dangerous 5 seed, in my opinion. I mean, they've been to a Super Bowl. They've got that makeup. I think they're 3-point favorites in this game. I would take the Eagles all the way to cover that spread and more. The Buccaneers find themselves in this position every year. They win a bad NFC South. Even with Tom Brady last year, I think they lost by 30 in this game to Dallas. So I'm pretty firmly entrenched in the Eagles camp. I just don't see Baker Mayfield doing enough to beat that Eagles team. I think the Buccaneers just won a really bad division. Good for them. They get a home playoff game. That's fun for their fans. I don't think the dream extends beyond this week.
Yeah.
Sam, the class of both conferences, the Ravens clearly in the AFC, I think the Niners in the NFC, it would be too perfect for them to meet in the Super Bowl. We'd have a rematch of the game last month, but that almost never works. Somebody gets kicked in the shins along the way. Right now, who do you think's a safer bet to make the Super Bowl, Baltimore or the Niners?
I think it's San Francisco. San Francisco just is, I think that their offense is so well-rounded with the run game, pass game. I think their defense is a load to deal with. You worry certainly about Brock Purdy tripping up because he showed us that he can against Baltimore, in fact. But I also don't think the Ravens are as tested in these games. I mean, in this playoff environment, I think I like the Niners a little bit more. Lamar Jackson's history doesn't suggest that he's a great playoff quarterback. He can certainly change that narrative quickly. But I think I'm going to go with 49ers to reach the Super Bowl over Baltimore.
Yeah, I think that AFC is
tough. I mean, the AFC
much tougher. Yep. Yeah, much tougher, much greater quarterback play consistently on the AFC side for sure. Sam, one last thing. I want to go back to the Vikings really quickly. If Cousins comes back and they draft a quarterback, he seems to be the kind of guy who wouldn't resent the suggestion that he helped develop his replacement. Is that out of whack to suggest that?
I don't know if it's out of whack, but I don't know if he wants to develop them as a one-year bridge option. Like I don't think he wants to be signed to a one-year deal and then transparently put in a place where he's clearly gone after that year. I think because he said this, structure matters to him. When I hear that, I hear I'd like some guarantees into 2025 as well, not just 2024. So I think it's going to take multiple years to get him back. Some people have floated 2 years, $60 million. That honestly seems low. 2 years, 70 maybe gets the job done to get him back, and you might have to guarantee most or all of that. And then if he, grooms that quarterback for 2 years, maybe that's the play. But I think that he does not want to be a lame duck quarterback. That's the vibe I get. I think that if the Vikings are only willing to give him a year as a developer of sorts or a mentor, I think he might prefer to go to a contender for 2 years and try to win a Super Bowl somewhere else. That's just the vibe I get.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Sam, it's been a great pleasure of mine to talk with you every week this season. We certainly appreciate it. Enjoy the playoffs, brother.
Will do. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Zepp. I love my Thursday morning chats with you.
Yeah, thanks.
See ya. Man, Kirk Cousins looking for $70 million for 2 years to come in, for that final last grab at the brass ring, I guess. If he's healthy, if that Achilles is healed as we all expect it to be, and if you do get the double. If you get a young quarterback and then he does get to sit there and hold that clipboard and watch Cousins work that offense for a couple of years, it could be worse. I'll say that. But I'm still not used to these new numbers, the new math of the NFL, to think that you'd give a guy $35 million for 2 years, knowing it's his final 2 years without a Super Bowl ring in his resume already. That's just an astounding number to me.
It's mind-boggling. You think you give someone that kind of money, they're going to, seal it and deliver you a Super Bowl, wrapped up in a nice, pretty bow. I was just curious when he said that. I killed my mic and just went to the keyboard real quick. And Tom Brady's first big contract after winning a Super Bowl and taking the team back to another Super Bowl was $4 million a year. Now, he would go on to make a lot more money, obviously, and that was 20 years ago, and the NFL money has just, like all sports money, has gone into the stratosphere. But, that's just, for a quarterback in his mid-30s coming off a serious injury, the idea that here in the NFL these days you've got to wrap him up with about $30 million a year is, it's mind-boggling, but that's where we're at. And, as I look at the draft, and I don't see anyone from this draft, maybe even a Caleb Williams that comes in on day one and can pull a Stroud. I don't know. So I think you've got to have a veteran there next year to bring someone along, no matter who you draft or trade for. Well, if you're thinking of adding, say, a puppy to your family, you might want to consider doing some research on the breed beforehand. My daughter Taylor, just this last year, got a Australian Shepherd. Now, she had a mini Australian Shepherd, and a mini Australian Shepherd no longer with Taylor, sadly, and thought, I'm going to go full-on big Australian Shepherd. I said, have you done any research on the dog? They're so fuzzy. What's not to like? He's part of the family. He's not going anywhere, and we love him, and she's very happy with the decision. But he's crazy. He's nuts, and that's that breed. A veterinarian just listed the 5 neediest five neediest dog breeds. Now, Candace is the needy one in that relationship, I think. A vet just listed the 5 neediest dog breeds to have. We're going to run them down for you here at 9 o'clock. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
If you're just joining us, it is Brian Zepp's birthday. Happy birthday, bro.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Started the day saying, "Oh, that's great, Steve. Thanks." By the last hour, he goes,
I'm rolling with it. I'm receiving lots of birthday wishes this morning. I see Candace outed me this morning on the KQ Facebook page, and that's pretty cool. Who doesn't love attention, man? Who doesn't love some positive vibes? I'm digging it today, so thank you.
Well, enjoy it, baby. Enjoy it all. Tony Lee also back off the bench, back from the what was it? You got that Brazilian lift and it went wrong. What happened? There was a medical. I'm sorry. Oh, no, I'm reading your text now. Don't mention the butt lift. My bad.
Yes, I'm hoping people will notice that on their own and it'll seem natural.
No, very good to have you back.
Thanks.
And sorry for the sickness that you. This is the cold season, and so.
Right. I'm good.
As Zepp mentioned a minute ago, before we break, let's see. I believe that's what we were discussing throughout the breed known as the Gigi, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know what to do right now.
That's a hell of a response.
What were you talking about? Yeah, you were talking crap about Gigi, right?
Well, the 5 neediest dog breeds, according to this list we have. I don't believe, now Gigi, her breed is, what is she, a pit bull?
Yeah, at heart.
Mix.
Yeah.
Nope, she's a little Maltese.
A little Maltese, not on the list, I see, of the 5 neediest dog breeds. And that's a big deal. People, they go for the pup. You're in the store or you see the online ad. I know Taylor did that, a little fuzzball that would grow up to be a holy terror, which we love. You love once they're in the family. You got to love them. But what about the needy dog breeds? Especially the trendy ones. Like the French Bulldog has replaced the Lab as the most popular dog in America these last couple of years, I believe. And everybody wants a French Bulldog. You can kidnap a French Bulldog and get thousands of dollars for its ransom. They cost a lot of money. But they tend to have neck, knee, and back problems and heart issues. They have that flat snout, and they sound like, me in the morning, trying to get some sleep on a plane. They also require special grooming products, food to keep their skin in good condition. It's a popular dog right now, but it's high maintenance. We all know it. We've dated people like that, right? Gosh, they're pretty. Gosh, they've got a lot going on. They're hot. They're high maintenance, right?
I think with a dog or a person, if you can hear them coming before they enter the room, that's a problem.
Yeah. Well, now Chauncey's a snorter too, but that's a medical condition. That's not specific to his breed. And you guys, now that's a medical condition. That's not in the breed.
Right?
What is Chauncey?
No,
he's just an American mutt, right?
Yeah, he's just a good old-fashioned mixed, you pick him, and there's probably some of that in him. And he does have he was just born with a series of issues. But, yeah, I mean, he had litter mates that didn't have the same problems, as we found out later in life. So, yeah, that's just Chauncey being Chauncey. But when you are buying a dog, adopting a dog that is a specific breed that you can hear it coming, that's what I mean. Because a French Bulldog, it's kind of like a pug. Yeah, you're aware of them before you see them. They just, it's just to me, I don't know. It's just not that charming. That's me. What can I say?
I got a buddy that has one. Dozer's his name, and he's had Dozer around a lot longer than they've been trendy here more recently these past few years. But Dozer has come with a lot of, they talk about the neck, knee, and back problems, and it's a little bit heartbreaking, when you have a pet, and you've got to go through all those issues with them, and Scott certainly has been going through that with Dozer, so I get it. I don't agree with Lab. The other most popular dog in America. We've had many labs on the farm, and the girls and I had a lot of chocolate lab, Libby, for many, many, many years. They do have some hip problems, I guess, but endless energy. But I don't agree that one of the neediest dog breeds, a lab.
No, that strikes me as being odd as well. If anything, you're needy because you need a break from them. They're so busy, and you're just, they just wear you out, man. Labradors, they're great dogs, but yeah, my God, you better have a tennis ball budget factored into your plans.
Isn't that the truth?
Oh, I could never have a ball dog.
A ball.
Like a dog where you have to throw the ball constantly. I can't deal with that. Gigi loves her lammy toys. She has 2 lammies, but she can just terrorize them on her own. I don't need to be involved.
When you got Gigi, did you consider this? Did you look for a specific breed, or did you go, oh my God, that's the cutest dog ever? She looked at you and said, that's the cutest owner ever, and it was just kismet immediately?
Nope. So she comes from a long line of Maltese. My mom has had like 3 Maltese in her life because they're the best dog in the world. They were Cleopatra's dog, black dog. So they're just so perfect and so sweet. And she has real hair. She doesn't shed. She sits right on your lap, and she's just so sweet, cuddly.
Get off police work here, Inspector. Cleopatra had Maltese dogs.
Yeah, that's what the legend says.
She had a panther or a snake.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and asp.
They're from Malta.
Flying around.
Do some research and get back to me. All right?
You do some research.
You're just jealous.
In your face, Candace. Tony told you. Also on the list, Great Danes. And the reason they made the list, they require a lot of food. That's just kind of funny to me. But then they're prone to a lot of different diseases. And it says they also need their nails trimmed regularly. There may be a little Dane in Chauncey Gorman then, because that boy's nails grow like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Constantly clipping those things.
Kids ever paint him when he was younger? Well, I suppose by the time he came along, the kids were a little older. I just remember that I'd always come in and I'd be like, oh, Libby, I see you have sparkly toenails today. I guess it's time to clip them when the girls feel like they have to be painted and put stickers on them. But Great Danes are just massive. They require, you talk about a lot of food. Buddy Sean, I don't know out there down in Rosemont, if you still have, is it Jack? It's been a lot of years because Great Danes don't live a long time because of their largeness. But this thing, he would buy 50-pound bags of Purina feed every week and dump it in a bowl. He didn't dump it in a bowl. He dumped it in a bucket. This thing just consumed a lot of food. That's a big poop to pick up. You're gonna need a bigger bag.
My buddy John, when I was a kid, had a Great Dane, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world because the dog was so big. The door to get into the house was one of those handles where you grab the handle with your fingers and then your thumb depresses the lever down. One of those is, and the dog would walk up and he would just lift his paw and smack it down so he could let himself into the house.
Oh, nice.
And I thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And then I said, so have you trained him how to close the door behind him? And the family looked at me like I was literally insane. Like, well, we couldn't possibly do that. And I was like, I bet you could. You could push it. He could shove that door with his head. And they literally just all thought I must be completely insane. But Muffet was a fun dog. It's the first time I'd ever been around a Great Dane. That sucker she liked to wrestle and play just like a regular dog, but she was bigger than me, so it was always a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, they have a great personality. Well, let's see. We've had Candace through legend tie Cleopatra and a Maltese together. How about the Dachshund? This vet says one of the neediest breeds because they have a Napoleon complex. Aggressive, compensate for their small size. Dachshunds. Anybody ever own a Dachshund? We never did.
Dachshund.
Dachshund?
Yeah, I had 4 of them. Yeah,
oh, you did?
Okay.
Okay.
4 weenie dogs. Yeah, they're wonderful, really smart. But they have back problems, kind of fragile. And but they have a big bark.
It's like they're 7 times longer than are wide. I can imagine that spine gets quite the workout.
Oh yeah,
man. So you had 4 dachshunds.
I did.
You mean one after the other, or all at the same time?
And in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah, we have
right.
Thumbelina, Schnapsy, Rocky, and Laverne.
Rocky. Wait, aren't they just wiener dogs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A dachshund is a wiener dog, yeah.
Thumbelina, that takes me back to Taylor's adolescence. For sure. And then the last one on there, I get it. You know what? I always piss off Chihuahua people. I do like to pick on them. They're sassy little dogs, and let's be honest, they're ugly. They are also one of the 5 neediest dog breeds, according to this vet, the Chihuahua, prone to heart and eye diseases. But people that love them, I'll get some hate email here, and I don't mind because I'm just, a little tongue-in-cheek with the Chihuahua, because I always see those little suckers trying to attack, German Shepherds and stuff like that. Right. You can't take your eye off them, I don't think.
They're trembling.
No, I've never had a small dog. When I'm around little dogs, I've apparently, she's too cool to come to the studio. But when I'm around small dogs lately, like as in the last 10 years, I kind of get it. I'm like, this is like if my cat was cool,
Well, yeah,
that's a great way to put it.
My friend that's a boy has a cat, and the cat is just like, I just want to cuddle with the cat, and the cat never wants to cuddle. And when I do wrangle the cat and get him to cuddle with me for a second, he just freaks out right away. I can just squeeze Gigi all day, and she'll be so happy.
Well, the dog lives in our world. We live in the cat's world. I mean, that's a great way to put it. So we live at the behest of the cat. Although the cats will leave you alone for sometimes 4 or 5 days. You'll be like, is that damn cat around? Do we have a cat? Someone check the litter box, see if there's a lump in there. But and dogs never do that. Well, there you go. Some of the neediest breeds, according to a vet.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show, Thursday, January the 11th. Big upsets in the not upsets, but a turmoil in terms of football coaching. Nick Saban out at Alabama, Bill Belichick out at the Patriots, Pete Carroll out at Seattle. That's over 900 wins between those 3 guys in their careers. Wow. That's pretty amazing. Pete Carroll, not the success of Bill Belichick or Nick Saban, but one of the very few coaches to win a national title in college and a Super Bowl. So that's 3 great coaches right there, no longer serving duty as of this morning.
Yeah, and Pete Carroll's not going anywhere. They put him in a consulting role, an advisor role, so it kind of sounded like, hey, we're moving him into the front. That's how Seattle does it. Aren't they so sweet out there? We're not going to fire anyone, but we're going to move him into the front office. But, yeah, he's not going to be coaching there any longer. And hey, listen, who would you – I mean, Pete Carroll's a guy I'd want in my front office with some advice. Hey, Pete, what do you think about this? Yeah, keep him in an advisor role. Belichick, I saw, now it's not substantiated. I'm trying to find the ESPN tweet this morning that he's already headed to Washington today. He's headed to Washington, D.C. today, obviously to interview for that job. So, and you had speculated that because of his ties with the East Coast, Annapolis, and that whole thing, that Washington, D.C. might be a nice fit for him.
I could see that. If you are the new owner of the Washington Commanders, I don't even remember the guy's name, but he's not Daniel Snyder. It's going to be a while before he is known as the guy as himself, because up right now he's still just not Daniel Snyder. But if you're a new it's a splash. New owners in all leagues love to make big moves to signal their arrival, and hiring Bill Belichick would certainly be that. So I'd be if they don't offer him, a king's ransom to come on down there. Nick Saban is flat out retired. He's not going to coach somewhere else. He's leaving with 7 national championships, 1 at LSU, and then 6 with Alabama. An incredible run. One of the longer tenured coaches in Alabama history, and he's far surpassed what Bear Bryant accomplished, which down in Alabama sounded like impossible. That sounded like something nobody would ever imagine saying, but that's the case. Saban leaves as the greatest coach in Alabama history. Unlike Mike Price, I just can't help but mention it. In 2003, I don't know if you remember this, Alabama hired Mike Price away from Washington State. He flew to Alabama, accepted the job, went to a golf tournament in Florida with a bunch of boosters and backers and sponsors, just one of those corporate events where you're the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Come to Florida and let us, let us surround you with great food and a party atmosphere, and let us treat you like the kingmaker you are now. And Mike Price got back to Tuscaloosa and was asked, "Hey, were you carrying on with strippers while you were down there?" And he was like, maybe. And he really didn't understand that the Alabama head coach can't party with strippers.
Yeah,
like
no.
that someone's going to see, dude. You're a famous guy now. He did not coach a single game. I think he only held a handful of practices. They ran him before he ever got near that stadium.
Yeah, now that's a job, Alabama's head coach, because they don't like to, they're not one of those programs that are going to bring up an assistant coach like they sometimes do and put him in that spot. They don't generally do that. I know there was that guy, and I'm blanking on him. He was a center in the NFL for a long time. He was at Alabama for a long time. He couldn't get them up and over the hump to win a big one. He was there for a while. I'm trying to go through my Alabama coaches. I'd have to do some Googling. Saban's been so entrenched there, and he is, the modern-day Bear Bryant. He's a legend not only in college football now, but in Alabama. He's a sacred man. But, I don't know who gets that spot. That's a big one.
That is a real big one. Lane Kiffin's name already getting thrown around, who's over at Ole Miss or Mississippi State. I don't know. What's the difference? Who cares? It's two schools in Mississippi that never win much. But we'll see. It's a great and it's an awful job, because you either succeed wildly and you own the state, or you only win 80% of your games and you're fired in disgrace.
You can go 14-0 every year and then just drop a couple of national championships, and they're probably looking. You're going to be looking over your shoulder. Rather, they're going to be looking for someone else. It seems impossible to follow someone, but someone's going to have to follow Belichick at New England, and that will be. I guarantee. I don't guarantee. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if both those jobs, we see a coach in there in New England and at Alabama for a couple of years before someone else slides in there, before they find their next legendary coach. You need someone to sort of blow it out, create a buffer between you and Belichick or Saban.
I agree, especially in college. If I'm the athletic director at Alabama, I'm taking a long, hard look at a good coach who, to your point, bring him in for 2 or 3 years and let him, let deflect. You don't want to bring in a coach that you have high hopes for on the off chance it doesn't work. It's almost like you want to make it a soft back to reality for your fan base. Bring in somebody who's going to do okay, but then you'll get the big splashy hire, get the right guy. It's an impossible thing to. Basically, you mentioned at Alabama, even if you win some natties, you got to look over your shoulder. More importantly than that, as anybody who's ever been in Ann Arbor or Columbus knows, if you're the Alabama coach, you better beat Auburn. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
If you lose to Auburn, it doesn't matter what else you do. You have got yourself some problems. I've always thought, bands rock bands should trade members like players. You should be able to trade managers. You know what I mean? Like, it would just be so much better. Do you know how many bands would still be together if they could have just traded their bass player for a player to be named later and maybe a draft pick here and there? I think I'd fit in better with those guys. And you just work out the deals. Wouldn't that be amazing if, like, in 1972, John Entwistle was traded for John Paul Jones?
Yeah, that would be amazing. You talk about a fantasy league I would jump into with both feet, man. Fantasy, drafting guys and trying to. Yeah, no, that would be fantastic if bands could. Now, they sometimes do that. You'll see the guy was a drummer in this band. They disbanded. And Josh Freese, you were talking about him recently, ends up with the Foo Fighters. A little bit of a journeyman himself, but that would be phenomenal. Yeah, no kidding. Replace some legendary. I don't know if would that even move the needle much. I feel like John Paul Jones and Entwistle were, they're two towering statues of bass players, Thunderfingers, if you will.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
well, I guess if you go frontman, like, Mick and Keith are at each other's throats in the mid-'70s. If you'd opened up the Rolling Stone and it's like, the move announced today, Mick Jagger has been traded for Freddie Mercury. And then, then the awesome. Queen goes on tour, and you got Mick Jagger. Who's next was called Bohemian Rhapsody? We can think about that all day long. That's the kind of thing that I will. I'll spend the rest of the day thinking about frontman trades we could have seen that would have possibly worked out.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
We all know it wasn't a trade, but Kenny Jones replaced Keith Moon, and that was sort of like the Mike Price going to Alabama as head coach. It was like, yeah, this is really a long-term solution, fellas. It's not what we're looking for. Yeah, Pete Townsend was like, I think I want someone to play straighter and not so frenetic, just to change the tone of the band a little bit. And then, a few years in, he's like, no, I need someone who plays exactly like Keith Moon. That's exactly what we got to do here. Yeah, no. All right, let's look back, shall we?
You know this?
Hey, did you know this?
Okay, this is interesting.
This is interesting. What is it?
Sports and
music history.
January 11th, 2010, Mark McGwire, slugger, retired, admitted, actually back in the 90s, I was using steroids. Not one person blinked. No one was surprised. Like, yeah, dude, we know. He broke the single-season home run record in 1998, famously beat Roger Maris's record, and celebrated with Maris's family. He was America's, great hope for baseball. He was a hero that whole summer. The home run race, he and Sammy Sosa, it brought baseball back. It brought the fans back, and it was drug-fueled like all the great records are.
Yeah, and then after that, they just started falling like dominoes. Then it was Clemens and Rafael Palmeiro. I did not do steroid. I mean, it just turned into just a big joke. Sure. To that point where we were just all sitting around going, just everyone do steroids. All right, just everybody do steroids. Let's see what we have here.
If it's one way to level the playing field, that's for sure.
Yeah.
If everybody's jacked, then we'll still know who's the better hitter. You're all on the same drugs. On this day in 1970, 54 years ago today, the Kansas City Chiefs won Super Bowl 27 over the plucky Minnesota Vikings. Tough day for Vikings fans. I guess that was the first of a few tough days in the 70s. The Chiefs' win was significant because it was the final Super Bowl between two separate leagues. There was the AFL and the NFL. After this game, they officially merged to become one NFL with two conferences, NFC and AFC. And I don't remember that. Like, I was a kid. I was watching football in 1970 already. I was 4 when this game was played. And I remember it being on, and I remember it being a conversation, blah, blah, blah. But the idea that it was two different entire leagues, I had no clue about that till many years later, looking back. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. Huh. Go figure.
Get the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.